Right.
Perfect. So I'm Abbey Sangmeister. I'm a therapist and coach for over 14 years now. I have worked with all ages, and often what it comes down to is people are just tired and stressed and trying to do everything. I've seen kids. I was thinking about this the other day. See, I've seen kids as young as like kindergarten and first grade feeling burned out and just doing too much. And then, of course, we see our teenagers struggling with that too. And it can come up in a lot of different ways of like trying to balance all their schoolwork and extra activities and social life. And of course, we know with like social media and everything, they want to stay connected and they don't know how to disconnect either. And that's where a lot of rest and recharging can come from and where they can kind of make better decisions along the path that they're going on too. I think sometimes they have too much information coming in, so they can't hear themselves through the noise of it all. So I've definitely helped kids navigate that, and then parents feel the same way often, you know, and how to both be able to do that together and read each other and support each other and like taking that time off, and it also helps build connection.
Yeah, and Abby and I connected around this idea of burnout, and my work is with teen leaders and teenagers and helping them see themselves as leaders. So I'm Lorraine Connell, and I opened the doors to my company Peers Not Fears in 2020, but really started pushing curriculum and activities for teens in the year of 22. So I have been building programs, I've been building ideas and places for kids to start to develop and learn who they are. And as Abby and I started to collaborate about that high achieving student who sees themselves as a leader or is amping up to try and get their resume to fill with all of these leadership opportunities. My goal is to really advise and encourage teens to know that leadership is happening in many places. And just because you don't have a title, or if you have a title, there are still opportunities for you to build leadership and find your voice so that as you are writing your college application or trying to determine what your next step is out of high school, you can really truly come to know who you are as a teen. And so we're really excited to share with you some of our ideas, some of our processes, and ways to engage in these conversations with your teen at any age. And something that has come to mind as Abby was sort of doing her introduction is another way to help parents avoid burnout when their kids get to this age is to look for resources and hire or connect with people to get your teenager the help that they need that isn't you, because it there's a lot of things that you're managing as a parent, like filling out college applications or developing skills that they don't have, does not also have to fall on your shoulders. So that's another thing that is an opportunity for you in chatting with Abby and I tonight or watching this video, is knowing that we are resources out there for parents to help their kids develop some of these things that they may be looking for.
Yeah, because you don't have all the answers, and that's okay. And so
Mm.
like coming together and building like a team to support your child to get where they need to go, and like the same time those people are supporting you because we're not meant to know it all. And we might not have, and it's okay, and to give yourself permission to say, I don't have the capacity to do all this. I can still support my child by getting this resource or, talking to different schools and finding other people. And that's okay. Like we don't have to do it all as a parent. We can find others to support us in that, and how to have those conversations and still be on your child's team and help them in the best way that you can give them.
Well, and you're also modeling how to not have all the answers. You're modeling how to use resources that may be available to you, or finding resources, because when they leave our houses, they don't have I come home and just drop an idea in my parents' ear and the parents are giving them the resources. I think of that first moment when I left my parents' house. I went to college, but that's not necessarily every teen's next step.
Mhm.
And I didn't know how to do anything. I didn't know where the health center was. I didn't know who and how to get study support. And if my parents had sort of just been like, I don't know, Lorraine, let's figure this out together, I think I would have had more ideas of how to find my resources without depending on somebody just telling me where they were.
Yeah, I think that's a great example, you know, because and knowing that maybe the first person that you ask isn't going to have the answer. And so how can you do that in a space that you like can feel grounded to keep looking for those answers that you need?
Yeah. And so, what one of the main purposes of this conversation, hopefully to engage with you, is for you to recognize that the path or the idea and the goal that you may have for your teen may or may not align with their path, their goals, their ideas of what happens next. And so I think that's a really great place to start, is to separately, not together. I mean, you will eventually come together, but separately write down those things that you want for your teen, that your teen wants for themselves. What are their goals? What are your goals for them? Do that separately and then have the conversation. And Abby, you wanted to really help parents navigate how to have that conversation. My suggestion is to do the actual work of like writing them out, because a lot of times we're in our heads of like, well, this is what I want for my teen, and we never actually say those things to them. And when they don't do it, they're left feeling like they disappointed you somehow, and you're upset that they didn't reach that goal. But did we ever have that conversation? So my suggestion is to start by writing out, what are my goals? What are my hopes? What are my expectations? And understanding that what my expectations are may not be what my teens' expectations are. But it's about coming to that understanding that they're different or they're the same, and how to go from there.
Yeah, and I think coming back to that as the parent to say to your teen, hey, it's okay if these are not aligned. It's okay. Maybe you've always heard me say, like, oh, I think you'd be a great attorney. But the kid's like, I might have good debating skills because I debate with you all the time, but that's not what I want to do. And have a safe space for your child to be able to talk to you about that, I think is really important. And one way you can kind of create that safe space is as you have separated and written like your own lists. And it might take you like a few days to
Mhm.
write this, like, and it's not set in stone either. You can come back to this. Um, is make sure that you're both in a great space. If they just came back from, let's say they play soccer and their soccer team lost, or they
Mm.
didn't play a good game, that's not the time for you to talk about it. It's not the time if you're the parent and you're rushing around or had a rough day at work. It's really important for both parties to be grounded in a way,
Mm.
to feel like they're safe and secure. Um, One thing is to also have, like, the phones put away so we're not distracted, and there's potential for disagreements to come up in those lists, and so if if you're the parent and you see your child starting to get flustered or their voice is raising or they're feeling frustrated, let's just end the conversation. We can come back to it. Just gently be like, like, let's just go pop on our favorite movie and go watch that. And the same as a parent, if you start feeling that, like
Mm.
anxiety, stress, like you feel like you're not expressing yourself or you're not understanding your child, that's okay. We can take a pause in this conversation and come back. It's not a one and done conversation, and you'll find more success in taking those pauses. Um, Another great thing is to take a step back and listen. I had a
Mm.
client years ago who happened to bring, it was mom and daughter session, and the mom happened to have an apple in her purse this one time. And so now I call it the apple technique. And so the child would be talking, the mom would want to like say something or respond. And I was just like, take a bite of your apple. And so so you don't have to be eating lots of apples, but what you can do is vision have that vision of, if I have an apple and I feel like I need to respond, I need to jump in, like I'm going to bite the apple, I have to chew it. It's gonna take you a little bit, and then wait, like, let your kid finish. Like, there could be some silent moments, and that can just kind of bring the conversation down. It gives you both a chance to really digest what each other is saying.
I heard somebody talking about like having the sex talk and or and like having a time limit. And
Mhm,
this may be another great opportunity where like, hey, we're going to sit down for 5 minutes and we're just going to talk for that 5 minutes. And that way you both know there's an end time. And then eventually that 5 minutes will end and you'll both still want to have the conversation. But if you put a time limit in, it gives you that I don't have to end this. They don't have to end this. We can end it at 5 minutes
mhm,
or, finish it off, but not have this feeling of like, we have to solve this problem right now. And the other thing that, as Abby was sharing all of those suggestions about listening, I have an activity that I share with my teenagers about how to have difficult conversations. And this may or may not be a difficult conversation, but I know that sometimes as parents, we want to be able to have all the answers. And when we're in this space, especially because we're trying to help our teens decide what they want to do, it can feel like I don't really know how to get these answers for my teen because it's not an answer for me. And so practicing having difficult conversations with the listening edge, I'm pretty sure I learned in couples therapy, is allowing somebody else to speak and not trying to remember what I'm going to say as soon as they're done. And that for me has been a real challenge. So, what I practice doing is knowing that I have to repeat to that person what I think I heard them say, which
mhm,
one, if you do that for your teenager, they're going to be like, "Who? What? You're listening to me?" They're not going to know what hit them. It's one of the most incredible tools that you can do is to repeat what you heard that teen say to you. And it's going to just diffuse any challenging conversation that you have with your teen.
mhm,
Another activity that I like to do with my teens that are in my groups is explaining that stepping outside of your comfort zone isn't just being uncomfortable. There is a step that is too far. And I will draw three concentric circles. Actually, I will pull that up really quick because if we don't understand that stepping outside your comfort zone, you can step out to what is called your panic zone. And in that panic zone, you're so uncomfortable that you can't learn anything. So it's really important. I just want to show you this visually so that you can see that in the center is what is deemed your your comfort zone. This blue zone way out here is your panic zone. So being uncomfortable is somewhere in between. And for many parents, this time in our lives is very, very uncomfortable, so uncomfortable that we feel a lot of that anxiety. And Abby, you brought up that like when you start to feel that discomfort becomes something more than just discomfort, you're shifting into this blue zone and you're no longer having a productive conversation. So you've got to either come back into that green zone, that challenge zone, or like you said, Abby, end the conversation. But if you have this visual that you share with your teenager and you start asking them different things in their lives, like, how do you feel when you walk into a space where you don't know anybody? Is that something that's really easy to you? Is that something that is anxiety producing, or is that a challenge for you? And start to like have those conversations with them so that they can start to build some skills around things that make them really, really uncomfortable, but know that they're going to encounter them as soon as they step outside of our homes and are living on their own.
Yeah, and I would add to that too, like finding ways to practice that with them too. Like,
Mm.
not only one, model it for yourself, right? So let's say you're having a meeting at work and it's going to be in the potential panic zone. Like, you can talk about that with your team. They don't
Mm.
need to know all the details about the meeting, but you can just talk aloud and be like, oh, I have this 10 o'clock meeting and it's going to make me feel panic. Like, this is what I'm going to do beforehand. And then dinner, you kind of like bring it up like like just a story. Other things you could do is if you're watching a show together and if you
Mm.
see that happening, you can kind of just like slide these little keywords in there so they can hear it, or you can bring that up later. And another thing is practicing, if you've always tried to keep your kids in a comfort zone, which we do, we want to give them
Yeah.
everything. But what I'm seeing as a therapist too is that kids they haven't built that muscle to go
Mm.
to that like discomfort, that little bit of uncomfort to like the edge of panic. They don't know what to do. Because sometimes as parents, we've stepped in
Mm-hmm.
frequently because we want to rescue them. Of course, we don't want to see our kids like struggling, but they need to feel some struggle. So you can create that in certain ways for them to practice and build that muscle. So when they move out of your house or they start their new job or they go to school, they have those tools already and they've practiced them.
I think that's so great, Abby. I love the idea. And I really do love the idea of doing the challenge comfort questions with each other, right? So, like doing the dishes, I will do it, but like maybe my teenager doesn't want to do the dishes because they're afraid they're not going to meet my expectations. And so it's this opportunity for us to have a conversation that shifts all of the things that we're perceiving as the problem. And I love when you get into different things and you realize that your teen finds something that you are afraid to do as something really easy, and you can like rely on them to help you, right? So I think of the thing that all of us are facing is how well our teens are able to navigate their phones and social media. And as a small business, I'm like, hey, 16-year-old son, will you please show me how to use TikTok and how to make this video? And allowing him the opportunity to teach me. Again, these are really incredible ways to connect with your teenager. And Abby, I think about the thing you said earlier where, you walk away or you go watch your favorite movie. It's a really great opportunity to find a way to reconnect with your teen. So like maybe I think of this time where when my now 16-year-old and I shared with him that like the figment of Santa isn't real, but we are all individual Santas, right? I took him out, we got hot chocolate at a cafe. I got him a treat and we sat down and we had this special moment that he and I now can reflect on. Like it was a breaking of his heart that it wasn't real, but he has this memory. And so if you take this parallel figuring out what your paths are and make it something that's special, the times where you hit some bumps along the road won't feel like a diversion of your paths. It'll just be another reconvergence.
Mhm. And I love that. I love that you're like, we're gonna go get hot chocolate or something. And it's never too late to spend time with your kids and build that connection. And so start simple. It could be a walk, you know, it could be that you go out to breakfast or something like one Saturday a month. And my biggest tip, especially if you have teenagers, they're going to want to be on their phones. I don't care if they're going to be on their phones with you, you're going to leave yours in the car. And like,
Mm,
because you know, if it's in your pocket, you're going to touch your pocket, you're going to touch your purse, you know, but leave it in the car and take your iPhone watch off or whatever
yeah.
and be there. And even if they're on your phone, you're not going to get mad if they're on their phone. You're just going to sit there and just be present, look around, read the menu 20 times, like be present. And you might need to do that if you don't have a strong connection with your kid. You might need to do that a few times. And they're going to be like, Mom, Dad, you're being weird. You know,
Yes.
why are you being weird? Like, right, and you just can be consistent, and yes, as a parent, you're probably gonna be like, "This feels uncomfortable because I would love to be scrolling right now or
Yes.
answering that text," but it's showing them that you're there no matter what, and then they're gonna open up with, like, one line of something after telling you to stop being weird, right? Like and do that and just build that, and then you can lead into some of these conversations too, if you need to rebuild connection.
Yeah, it's
Another
like
thing is,
building
like
that muscle.
and another thing is you don't have to have these conversations, like, at the kitchen table staring at each
Mm,
other. Like,
yeah.
go for a walk. I've had some clients tell me, both parents and kids say, "We like it when we're in the car having these conversations because we don't have to look at each other," but then I've also have some that don't like it because they feel trapped, so I think that's, like, a great check-in
Mm.
point, or to say, like, again, when that conversation starts to get in that uncomfortable zone, we're just gonna, like, turn on some music and stop the conversation.
And I guess my biggest question is how many people do you think knew what they wanted to do when they were 16 or 17 years old? And how many people said they knew what they wanted to do when they were 16 or 17 years old? And lastly, how many people did what they said they were going to do when they were 16 and 17? And I think if we check in on those three questions, it doesn't feel so enormous as we're making these decisions at this point in our lives.
And the path doesn't have to be, like, a linear path.
Ah, 100%. Yeah.
And
They
I
may
think
be
that's really important.
parallel, but they don't have to be linear.
Right, like, it's not gonna be, like, direct A to B, and that's okay.
Yeah. So we'd love to just turn it over to you all. If you have any questions, pop them in the chat and we can address them. And if not, we're so grateful that you came and we're part of this. And we have your email, so we'll send, I know I wrote down 3 different of the activities that I do, so I will share links to those activities, um, that you can share with your teen or just read them over yourself and just use them to ask good questions for your teens. So
Ask away.
Abby, you asked me how I define leadership.
Yeah.
That's a really great question because I think that that's one of the things that gets a lot of people hung up. Leadership isn't really defined the same by each and every person. So there are so many different definitions of leadership. My baseline for leadership is if you're making decisions, you're a leader. And then leadership is how you engage with those decisions and what you reflect on in terms of those decisions. Leadership isn't the things that we are making it out to be. Um, and I think that really holds us back as young adults, like, I don't want to be a leader because I think a leader is this enormous thing. And then I hear somebody else describe it as something different, and somebody else describe it as something different. And now all of a sudden, I definitely don't want to be a leader because I don't know what I need to do to be a leader. So if I were to tell anyone, is you're already a leader because you're making decisions. What you do now is develop that skill, just like anything else. If you're learning to play basketball, if you're learning to play the violin, you're going to practice. And leadership is all about practice. And also, you rarely get it right the first time. And so that's another reason why a lot of people are afraid to call themselves a leader or be a leader, is because it's so big and you don't want to make a mistake.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thanks for asking.
Yeah.
Well, I hope you both had a good experience and learned some new skills and have a lot to think about and are ready to have these conversations with your young teens. And if your teen is not like on the verge of making decisions about their future, it's still a great time to start having those conversations.
Yeah.
Thank you, Jessica. It was nice to have you here.
And feel free, like, if you go, like, the next few weeks, you're like, "Oh, I have this question," like, feel free to reach out to either one of us or both of us, and we will help get the answer.
Yeah,
If we don't know it, like, I'm gonna help you find the answer.
we'll find the
So,
resource.
that's what we're here for.
Yeah. Right, I'm going to stop the recording.